Well, hello everybody. Dimitri Panos here with another episode of KDM. And in this episode of KDM, in which the K, if you haven't figured this out, stands for my good friend and colleague, Kit Bowen. Hi, Kit.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well.
Awesome. The D stands for Dimitri,
This guy here.
and the M stands for movies.
Yay.
So it's Kit Dimitri, talk movies, and today, unofficially, officially, I'm gonna say we're kicking off the summer movies, right? Is that
Yeah.
fair to say, Kit? Would you
Yeah.
agree, right?
Yeah.
We're kicking off the summer movies. We sinned on Easter, which is still spring, but now we're getting into summer. And with that, there could be some thunder involved, depending on where you live and the weather. But we are talking Thunderbolts with an asterisk today. Please note that this conversation will contain many a spoiler,
Hmm.
including the post-credit sequences at the end. So if you have yet to see Thunderbolts and don't want anything to be spoiled, including what the asterisk truly stands for, just hit pause and then come back and please join us. But we will be a very spoiler-filled conversation. We've seen the movie this past weekend. Kit specifically asked me to go first. I don't like the idea because I always give it over to Kit because I just think that it's better to start off with a bright, sunshiny, smiley
Well,
face.
I just
Someone
want to qualify
talk
that
about
we disagree on this movie, so that's why I want you to
yes.
go ahead first, because then I'll come in with my.
Yes, she wants me to go first. So uh, it's not because I think I'm better than or I'm not a gentleman and then I'm not throwing to
Come
her.
on.
It's important to me, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So, but she asked me to go first. Why? Well, because I did not like Thunderbolts. I didn't like it. I liked it about if you watched our podcast on Captain America: Brave New World. I'm putting it in the about that category. Thunderbolts, if you don't know, it is a ragtag group of misfits, I guess. It's sort of kind of superhero wannabes in a sense, with the exception of one character whom you really know about, and the rest of the characters, unless you're paying attention to the Marvel television shows, there's some of the movies, there really isn't, you don't know a lot about them. So basically, they're coming together to save. I don't know what they're saving. They're saving New York City from this. Well, from two people. There's Valentina Allegra de Flore. What's
DeFontaine.
her?
DeFontaine. Yeah.
Defontaine, and then you have Robert Reynolds or Bob, who becomes Sentry, and all of our Thunderbolts characters, which includes Bucky, whom you know. It also includes who's the gentleman that we David Harbour, our favorite David Harbour, as what's his name?
Oh, Red
What is
Guardian.
it? The Red Guardian, and then of course we have John Walker, of course Florence Pugh as Elena, sister to Scarlett Johansson's character Black Widow, and then also we have you know, Wyatt Russell, John Walker, who was in the, if I'm correct, television series,
Yes.
Winter, whatever it
Winter
was called,
Soldier. Yeah.
something, yeah. And
Uh,
then we have
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yes.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then I believe is it Hannah John came in as Ava Starr, who forget what her character's name is, but she was
Ghost.
in Ant-Man Ghost. She was in Ant-Man and Wasp, right?
Yeah.
So all of these characters and stuff that were many years ago, they expected to really know who they still are. And with the exception of Bucky and maybe Elena at this point, but Bucky's had the most continuity. of any character right now. He was even in Brave New World. Um, they have to band together to thwart Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character and this Valentina Allegra de Fontaine and this Sentry, this Bob, in which she wants to create a superhero that is all powerful. You know what? I'm going to simplify the plot. It's basically what Gene Hackman does in Superman: The Quest for Peace, in making that Mark Pillow Atom guy to fight Superman. He's supposed to be all powerful and such. Basically, that's what she's trying to do here. There's no rhyme or reason or how she's doing it that I can recall ever. Maybe I just didn't pay attention as much. In any case, they have to band together. This Bob, who is Sentry, has this one, outside of being pretty much invulnerable to most everything, he has one other power. I guess you would call it a psychic power, in which he could put a character, if he touches them or something, he brings said character into a room, a dark room, in which they experienced some not pleasant things within their lives. They're probably an event, or an event that happened to them that was a dark event, something that they've regretted, and he is able to see what that is, put the people in there so that they repeat it constantly, 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 and it basically will psychologically defeat and drag the character down. And these Thunderbolts have to come together to try to thwart this. Look, with the exception of that, there was no unobtainium that had to be found. Again, I found this villain, or the villains, to be, I just found them to be silly. I think another thing that really bothered me too was there's kind of a bait and switch in the marketing. If you watch the trailer to this, they spent time with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's the CIA director, and she's in front of a committee, and the character says, the Avengers aren't coming. And the trailer leads one to believe that she's the one that basically puts this team together. And while that's not necessarily a lie, in the movie, she didn't do it on purpose. She's an opportunist. She's a huge opportunist. It doesn't happen that way in the movie. So while these characters were coming together for their reasons that were involved with Bill Fontaine, we don't see the Thunderbolts until a good hour plus into the movie. And I spent that 45 minutes, that first 45 minutes, going, what the hell am I watching? Like, are these people going to get together to be a group or what? Like, why am I watching these people that, quite frankly, many of them I just didn't care about? The movie also reminded me of, believe it or not, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, in which you had a villain, Cybok, who would, his power, his psychic power, was to release your pain. Give your pain to me, and I will take that away from you. You will never have to face it again. But Captain Kirk so wisely said, I need my pain. Pain is part of me. It makes me who I am. And instead, in this movie, you get people like Elena walking around complaining that they're a superhero. I don't know my lot in life. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, Daddy. Are you comfortable being a superhero? I don't know. And like, she's suffering. She's supposed to be suffering, yet it doesn't stop her from putting a few bullets into people's heads as she's trying to do certain things. So none of this movie jibed for me. We'll talk about the end credit sequences later. Yeah, I did not.
See,
I
it's
did not
interesting.
like this
It's
movie.
interesting because I think some of the themes that come up in this film were also in the Joker Part 2 for you, and you enjoyed that, and this time you didn't. So it's kind of interesting to me that Because I
Such
think,
as?
well, I think Florence Pugh's character is in an existential crisis. She's alone. She feels very alone. And Elena,
Hmm.
her sister has died. And, after the Black Widow movie, you get the sense that she is going to be working with Valentina because Valentina shows up at the end of that. And basically, Valentina's, she's, like you said, an opportunist, and she's
Yes.
basically been using these people to do her nefarious deeds. And the one nefarious
Oh,
deed
that's a
that
good
she's
way to put
doing,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the one nefarious thing that she is trying to do is create a superhero, right? So she's been doing experiments and she's been doing whatnot. And then, so she's trying to create a hero who will take over the Avengers that, the void of the Avengers. She doesn't think of it as a team. She's actually trying to find someone to take it all over. So
And
she
that it will be 100% or 102, 2,000% loyal to her.
Correct.
It'll do her
Someone that she
bidding.
can control. Absolutely. So, the first part of the movie is her trying, she's basically come under fire from the government and, and Congress and whatnot, including Bucky Barnes, who's now a congressman, which we found out in Captain America Brave New World that he was going to go into politics. So now he is, he's a
Right.
freshman congressman, and he wants to take Valentina down. So as does Wendell Pierce, who plays one of the senators or whoever was on the committee. And
I do like Wendell Pierce.
right.
I
So
like him.
basically, they're trying to take her down. So she realizes they've got some stuff on her. So she tries to get rid of everything that is she's connected to with this whole thing she's been trying to do, right? So she's emptying out her warehouse, she's doing this, and that also includes getting rid of these ragtag assassins that she's been using all along. And she figures if she puts them all in one place and says, you got to kill that person has to kill that person, then they would die, right? So that's kind of what happens at the beginning of, towards the middle of the film is them realizing that they've been patsied, realizing that in order for them to survive, they've got to band together, even though they don't really like each other. But what I really loved about for me, I really liked the movie, but what I liked about it the most was Florence Pugh. I thought she added such interesting dynamics to it because even though you didn't care about her, her existential crisis, I did. I felt for her. I felt like, she just didn't want to do what she was doing anymore and she didn't know what else to do, right? I mean, she really doesn't have anything else she knows how to do, and so she continues to do it, but she doesn't want to do it and she feels by herself and so and the other part of it is the character Bob Sentry, played by Lewis Pullman. Um, he's the one that survived all of the tests that Valentina was doing. He's the one who finally is her champion, right? But and this was a great sort of little aside. Geraldine Visual, I can't ever say her last name, but she's a great little actress who plays sort of Valentina's lackey. Um,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I know what you're talking about.
she
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
she says to Valentina, "Look, I understand what you're trying to do, but
Viswanathan.
did you vet
Yeah.
any of these people before you started doing experiments on them? Because turns out this Bob guy is really messed up in the head. So, you know, his void, which is what they call the bad entity of him, right? Is just that. He brings people into a dark, deep void of, depression and horribleness. And he feels like that side of him, the dark side, I guess, is uh
Yeah.
is what is the big villain in this is that it's like there's no hope kind of thing. And he brings them all into that. And they all have to experience different traumas from their past and
From
what
their past, yeah.
but Elena realizes that she connects with this guy. She connects with him because he is a loner and he's also very, doesn't feel like anyone loves him, that kind of stuff. And so for her to kind of get over her own messed upness, she, embraces him and says, "We're here, we're here, we're here." So, and then what happens is that Valentina, so when the void starts to basically, take over New
Snap
York
people
City,
out.
yeah,
Right.
snapping people into their dark rooms. Um, she sees that these ragtag team, this, which includes the people that you mentioned, including Red Guardian, Alexei, who David Harbour, who I love as well. We got to know their dynamics from Black Widow, that, he and Rachel Weisz's character basically raised Elena and Natasha as young girls. And Thunderbolts is hilarious. Thunderbolts comes from this soccer team that Elena was on when she was 5 years old, and they never won a soccer game ever, and they were called the Thunderbolts. So that's where the Thunderbolts comes in.
Did you
But
notice? I just have a quick, sorry to interrupt, but did you notice in the Thunderbolts team picture, right? Did it remind you of anything? Because it is mentioned that they suck. They hadn't won a game, but did you notice anything in particular
no,
about that?
no, I didn't pay
Their
attention.
uniforms were the similar or same yellow as another team that kind of sucked. They didn't play soccer. They played baseball, the Bad News Bears.
Oh,
And it had that's a comparison that I drew. They kind of had the same yellow uniforms,
gotcha.
but that's
Well,
just an
anyway,
aside.
so, but
Fun aside for everybody.
basically, um, Valentina sees them all working together to save people on the streets of New York, right? And she's like, oh, maybe. And then, so I really enjoyed it. And I think it was because of Florence Pugh for the most part. But just the dynamics between all of them, and um especially especially Alexi and Elena, and they have a nice little moment together. And it's just, it's kind of it was very similar to like Guardians of the Galaxy, and the fact that, you bring all of these sort of characters together to do something, and they all have their own problems and their own, angst and whatever the case may be, and they have to end up working together. They're not there to they are hired to kill people, but they're hired to kill people by Valentina. And but when, they're not there to basically kill everybody. They are kind of anti-heroes, I suppose that's what you would call them, which is like
Yeah.
Guardians. So yeah, I mean, look, it's there's things to this that I just, I can see how it's going to move and forward, because basically here's the big spoiler. So after they
Yeah.
so after they finally get Bob under control, and they basically say we're here for you, and Void, sort of is voided out for a second. And Bob,
Yes.
they come back to New York, everybody comes back, and he can't remember anything that happened, which is good. But they see Valentina, and they're like, okay. And she's like, she's like standing in front of a tarp or whatever. And they're like, okay, we're going to go get her now. This is it. She's done. She's done. She's out. We're going to take care of her, kind of thing. And so she goes behind the tarp. And then when they come out, there's this press conference that she hinted that's what she was doing anyway. And she says, and they're all like, bloodied and just dirty, and they're like, oh, and they see all these people, they're like, what's going on? She
What
goes,
the hell? No.
here are your new Avengers. And they're like, what? But Yelena walks up to her and says, we own you now, because basically they could still take her down at any time they wanted to. So, and then just I love the end. I mean, so then you have so that's the end of the film, and then they start showing, how they are the new Avengers. So they're on covers of magazines, and they're doing all kinds of photo shoots,
Oh,
and
I
I
will
thought that was
give,
hilarious.
I will give, I don't disagree. I actually thought the artwork used was actually really cool.
Yeah,
The artwork in that the sequence of which you're talking about was very good.
yeah,
I was like, oh, it's kind of artwork that I, would consider like buying, because it's the kind of poster stuff
right.
that I already collect. So yes, I will give you that. The artwork was
Um,
good.
yeah, and then we get to the very end credits, and I sort of like the idea that they have been named as the new Avengers, but like the rest of the population aren't buying it. They don't necessarily want them to be the new Avengers, right? So they're getting all kinds of bad flack and bad memes and this kind of thing. And then you hint, which I guess is probably going to be. I read that the director said the very end tag was actually part of Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, which is the movie coming up. I guess maybe one of the ones coming up in a couple of years. But the fact that Sam Wilson, who is the new Captain America, he had been tasked to create a new Avenger team as well, right? From Brave New World, that he is fighting them on being the Avengers. So he's like, I
Right.
trademarked the name. So you've got to set up sort of a, you know, kind of like Civil War, right? Where
Right.
you got one faction going, nope, and that kind of thing. So you kind of set it up. But then I'll tell you what, they showed trailers for Fantastic Four First Steps. They had this whole, did you see it in IMAX?
Did I? No, I saw it at
Oh,
Dolby. I saw it in
really?
Dolby.
Wow. I
Yeah.
actually had to see it in IMAX and it was in 3D. I had glasses on and
Oh,
everything, and it was actually pretty
no
cool to watch.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, I saw it in Dolby because it was oh yeah, it was an earlier show
Ah,
that I can get into, and I had to go to the airport later on, so I chose the earlier show, and I thought it was going to be a little less crowded, but it was pretty filled for
yeah,
two
mine was
o'clock.
mine was packed. But yeah, so it was in 3D, which kind of gave it an interesting layer. It took me about a half an hour
Huh.
to get over a little feeling a little nauseous, but after
Ooh.
that I felt okay. But so yeah, so Fantastic Four was also at the beginning of the IMAX, when they do their little promo-y thing. It was all Fantastic Four.
Oh, okay. So, wow.
So clearly this last tag ending is connecting us to the Fantastic Four movie
Yeah, which I
because
want to talk
everybody's
about
really
that too.
excited about it.
Okay, but here was my main problem about this because Disney is painstakingly they're making a huge effort to set up a feel for this new Fantastic Four movie. The trailer, and by feel, I mean it's almost as if they're putting it in a different time period because it's very 50s-ish, sci-fi rooted. Even the fonts of Fantastic Four First Steps, the robot has like tape in it, and it's almost Jetsons
Yeah,
like.
I read that I think it is going to be a retro-y film, but somehow the
But
four of them
yet, somehow, how does it end up then
because
in this New
because
York
I
if
read that
it's
they come into a new, this like it's like a multiverse
yeah.
thing.
Well, whatever. See, done, lost me. I mean, I like the idea of a new Fantastic Four, and I liked how it looked, and they're setting all this up, but yet I'm like going, this doesn't jibe with present day New York. Like, what are they doing? And I just said, go on with you. Whatever. It is like,
Yeah, guys, I'm
it's
afraid
a
that
first
Dimitri is
return.
lost. He's this new phase
Well,
of Marvel, they've lost him.
again, how many? Well, what I don't even know what phase we're in at this point. Like again, Marvel has gone so off the rails with what they used to do really well. And as far as Fantastic Four goes, how many tries have we had? Three? Like at first you don't succeed, and
Yeah, I
quite
know. I'm
honestly,
not necessarily, jumping around about it, but
I didn't hate the first movie.
yeah, I didn't hate it
The
either.
one way, way back when with
Yeah.
Jessica Alba. Yeah, I did not, Chris Evans. I didn't hate that Fantastic Four. I actually thought it was kind of fun. Um, who knows? Who knows?
Well, anyway,
I got
I just we'll wrap this up. We won't get into another Marvel discussion because we talked a lot about it for Brave New World because both of us didn't really like that movie. And but this one,
yeah.
I you know what? I try to go into each one of these movies with the hope that they'll entertain me, and they entertain me with this one. And the other thing that I appreciated about this one, there
Mhm.
wasn't overblown action sequences. The action sequences were there and they were good, but they were short and they were, not overblown. Sometimes even
I,
Endgame,
I agree.
they just
Yeah, no,
go on and on and on
yeah.
and
I
on.
I don't disagree with that statement. Like I honestly, I agree with you on that. However, they look tired and worn with me. I mean, again, they're putting Winter Soldier in a fight and like he does the knife, like, oh, I got the knife. I'm gonna drop it and catch it here and do like it worked the first couple of times. It's tired now. You're not giving them anything new. And the actor, I forget the actor who plays him, who's a
Sebastian
really good
Stan.
actor. Sebastian Stan, he just is like, you know what? So long as the zeros match up with me, I'm fine. Like he doesn't even look like he wants to be there anymore. I know his
I don't
character is
know.
a little bit grumpy, but and again, he's the only one that has any type of continuity, and he's friends with Sam. He's friends with the new Captain America.
Yeah, but you did hear
They're
the line he said
not.
in the end credit.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
know, and
talked
it
to him and
doesn't.
it didn't go well.
Yeah, it didn't go well, and that bothers me. It's like, really? Like you were
Well,
in
I
his
mean, we'll have to
show
see
and
how they play that out, but I can understand how Sam Wilson would get pissed off.
oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, very much me too. And again, it's like, well, guys, why don't we just all go to Sam, say, this is what happened, F her. Like, Sam, we want to be with you.
Oh,
I
maybe
mean,
that's what happens.
this
We don't
isn't the
know.
ideological break in Civil War. That wasn't like, oh, we're the Avengers. No, we're the Avengers. That was like
No,
an
I know. I was
ideological
just
thing.
comparing in the fact that
So
probably what will
this
end up
was just
happening is they'll all work together, but right now they are at odds. Yeah. So anyway,
uh,
I would give this a good solid 4 stars for me, and
oh,
you would
and I
give
do have a
it
oh, I give
finger.
it the finger. Yeah, the 1 star. But something funny. Lewis Pullman, there's something about him. I like him.
Me too.
Like there's something about Lewis Pullman that I like. He's got a little bit of his dad in him, who I
Yes.
like, who I respect and enjoy. However, folks, I saw this on social media somewhere. Somebody pulled this out. Uh, does anybody remember what his character's name was in Maverick? Do you even
But
remember that he
uh,
was? It was Bob. And there's a whole scene. It was like, I'm Bob.
I'm Bob.
Nope, just Bob. You
Just
don't
Bob.
have a call sign? Nope, just Bob. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so funny because he
Obviously,
basically
they're
does the
playing to
same
that. Yeah.
thing. And he didn't. I'm just Bob. And I'm like, I had forgotten about Maverick.
Yeah.
So it's kind of very funny.
And I
I do.
also just one last thing. Not only did I appreciate
Yeah,
the not overbloated action sequences, but I thought it was funny. There's a lot of funny stuff that goes back, especially with Red Guardian, David Harbour. He could deliver those lines like no problem. But Lewis, Lewis's Bob at the very end credit had the funniest line of all. He goes, "We're gonna just ride Bob up into space." He's like, "No, I
I
can't do Sentry right now, because of the other side." He goes, "But I did do the dishes."
right. I did do the dishes. Yeah.
That made me laugh.
So,
Anyway, there was
yeah,
touches
Lewis
to
pulled it off.
that I actually wouldn't mind seeing it again just because of
Oh,
some stuff. So
I
anyway,
I don't think
guys,
I'd
look,
even see it for free on streaming,
let's
which isn't really free, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
again, I
Look,
agree with most of the
I'm in the
critics.
minority.
Dimitri does not. So
I'm in the minority on this. I understand, and that's fine. I just, I wish that Marvel would get their act together. At the beginning, prior to the start of the show, you said, "Oh, you got to get over that." I said, "No, I don't have to get over that because they were good and I actually
I didn't
enjoyed their
say you had to get
movies."
over it. I just said you had a
But
bias
well, yeah, I have a bias
because
against
they've been
bad
disappointing
movies.
you time and time again.
And but for a long time now, and they don't know where they're going. And again, I'm gonna bring up a name, Shang-Chi. Where the hell is he? Like that was a very good movie, perhaps
Yeah,
one
I
of their
didn't love
last
that
very
movie.
good movies. I
Again,
like Shang-Chi, and
overbloated,
I like that. Oh
overbloated.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess maybe I don't know, but I like Shang-Chi,
Well,
and
look,
here
you
any
never
of
know.
them,
I
and they
mean,
don't know what they're
Marvel,
doing.
I mean, we've got the Eternals or whatever. What are they called? The Internals? I can't remember. Anyway,
Well, we had the Eternals. That was
that was
too. I
horrible. Yeah,
mean,
no, granted, they are very all over the place right now, but I think, and I'm crossing my fingers. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to happen, but I think they're starting to get their act together and how they're going to finish this up. So we'll see. We'll see.
We'll
All
see.
I know, as a standalone for this, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Florence Pugh. She's fantastic to me. She's got a face I can never stop looking at. I think she's so attractive, and just there's some charisma that she has in every role that she does. There's just something about her that I really enjoy. And I think Elena is kind of a funny character, like a good character, because we saw her in Black Widow, that's where we met her, and then she was in the Hawkeye D, Disney Plus series, and I thought she was great.
It was
But then
Hawkeye. Yeah, it was Hawkeye.
and then now, so it's a character I enjoy, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all shape up. But like I said, I'm always the optimist. I have optimism that they'll get their act together. But you're right, it has been a mishmash of just really not great movies, and I'm just hoping this one was kind of a kickstart to better movies coming ahead. So we'll see.
Well, from your lips to the Marvel gods'
Yes,
ears,
indeed.
that's what I say.
Let
And I
us know
do
what
love
you
that you
think,
are.
obviously, in the comments.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And I do love that she is the forever optimist, and that makes me a better person, in all honesty. That's why I do this show.
But the next one we're going to get to talk about, oh my God, every time I see the trailer, I just literally lose my shit. I love it so much. It's Mission
Same here.
Impossible Final Reckoning.
I Everything I see about it, my one regret, I'm telling everybody right now, we're not seeing it together, folks. I'm so bummed about that. It, yeah, the
Yeah.
experience, the past few
But you
movies
know
has
what?
been so great.
Maybe we can watch it again together after we've seen it, but just still be able
That
to
would
watch.
be like get our little gang together. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That could be a lot of fun.
I
I,
know.
I have a feeling that this movie, to us, the movie would have to be really
I
bad
mean,
for us to
just
like
like
it.
they'd have to jump the shark so severely for us to really hate this. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping they don't
So
do that, but I don't think.
it, I think from us, it's pretty review proof. Spoiler. So
I think so
I'm
too.
just saying.
Very
I'm just
exciting.
saying. Can't
All
wait.
right,
It's
guys.
my
Well,
most
everyone,
anticipated. So
yeah. Yeah,
thank
thanks.
you
And we'll
all.
talk to you guys all
And,
very, very soon.
and yay, summer.
Yay,
Summer is
summer.
going to be in full gear. Summer is here. There's a ton of movies. Box office is going to be big. Ted Sarandos, you can suck it with it's an outmoded way of people see. You just wait. I think that this summer is going to we're going to have really fun movies this summer, and it's going to be big box office this summer.
Yeah.
People never left is the way I like to say it.
Yep.
They've come back. So we've already had good movies this year, and I think the trend is going to continue. Yay, summer!
Yay, summer.
Yay, Kit!
Yay,
And
Dimitri. All right. So we'll
thank
talk
you.
to everyone soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, all.